Hello, welcome back, and thanks for joining me on another weekly update on all my vermicomposting systems. Starting with my two regular tote bins, couple of disclaimers to make. For my regular tote bins, I do not have any holes at the bottom. They don't have lids on the top. I just use like a mosquito mesh and bubble wrap, and I don't do a double bin system, so I don't deal with any type of leachate. So I tend to deal with moisture in the bin a lot. Since it's like the third week of June, the moisture in the bin is collecting because in my area in South Jersey, it is very humid at this time of year. Even though the bins are somewhere where the air conditioner is on, it seems that they absorb all the moisture from the air as well as the moisture from the food, and it collects in the bin. So I focus on trying to keep the bins drier, not too wet because they're going to be wet, but drier than usual. So in the totes right now, they were harvested about 6 weeks ago. And I'm doing two different styles of composting. One I'm doing as a regular shredded cardboard if you have a shredder. And then the other is just taking large chunks and breaking apart the cardboard. And this is the one that I'm breaking apart the cardboard. And I'm finding that the castings are collecting a lot faster than the other tote. The shredded cardboard, I guess because I'm adding so much every week that it doesn't seem to be breaking down as fast, whereas this one I'm adding little bits of cardboard in pockets, doing pocket feedings instead of just throwing a whole layer of cardboard across the top. It seems like I'm gathering more castings than not. But as you can see, there is the color, I should say, of the finished castings are very, very dark. So they're getting pretty heavy pretty quick. I did take the time to go in and thoroughly mix this up because I was concerned that it would get muddier towards the bottom. But it's something that I don't plan to do every so often. Or I should say it's something that I plan to do every so often, not every week in this bin. But I did feed up both of the bins. And then just as a reminder, what I sprinkle on the top of the food is the grit. For me, I use a mixture of neem cake, diatomaceous earth, and eggshells for the grit for my worms. Seems to work best for me. There are many different ways to do the grit, so you can research which one works best for you. But overall, the health of these bins are very good, and I am pleased with how they're progressing. The next type of systems I have are the Vermi Bag Totes. Now each Vermi Bag Tote is different, and this one is just your basic Vermi Bag Tote. I harvested about the same time I did with my regular totes, but the problem that I have with the Vermi Bag Totes is that they're dry all the time. So I focus on adding water to it more than the other bins. And in the summer, these bins do get a little bit wetter. They run a lot better for me in the summer than in the winter. So the way that I'm adding moisture is by focusing on foods in the summer that have a lot of moisture content. So these are cucumbers that I'm just putting along the center. And I am building up the material in here, so I'm going to put some shredded cardboard over the top. And again, moisture is important in these types of bins, so I'm adding moisture to this bin. Overall, the worms look good. There's still a good sized colony in here, which is a positive thing for me. And so this regular tote was fed up for the week. Now, my second Vermi Bag Tote, I have been doing like a year-long journey with rebuilding the colony. This colony fell apart in one of the harvests, and I have been working with different methods to try to rebuild it. Last method was the breeder bin, and I like the breeder bin system. I just don't think I had enough worms, so I'm going to redo it, but I think I might purchase worms to build it. I'm finding cocoons all over the place, and that is so awesome that I have cocoons in this bin because that means that the colony is starting to rebuild and is getting healthier. So this one, still not sure when I'm going to do like a real harvest because the last time I didn't really harvest it, but I'm going to let this colony rebuild itself a little bit more, and just the same as the other bin, I added some cardboard. Didn't add any water because these are pretty wet castings, and then just finished it up for the week. The remaining castings that were left over when I took the worms and restarted the last Vermi Bag Tote, I checked on it 2 weeks later. This is what it looks like. The castings aren't super dry, but there was no evidence of any worms or any activity in here. So I just took this and put it out into one of my grow beds outdoors. Worst case, I'll have some more composting worms in my outdoor bins. And then finally, that brings us to my creepy crawly Vermi Bag Mini. Now, you can see the amount of beetles that are in the bin at the top. So I'm sprinkling my grit on the top to try to get these beetles that are on the top before I move it, because I don't really want them being put back into the bin. I try to eliminate these beetles, but that's a good representation of what gets into this bin. And I still don't understand why they are only in the Vermi Bag Mini. I had some problems at the very beginning of my vermicomposting journey with them being in my regular totes, but for the most part they're not in any of my tote style bins. So I really only have a problem, and it could just be the size of the bin, the size of the food. I haven't figured it out, but with the warmer temperature, the number of pests was exploding. So I am trying to combat it more by making sure I sprinkle extra diatomaceous earth and neem cake on the top. And I'm also going to focus putting the wetter foods to the edges, because that's where I have the problem with the crispier castings, is on the edges of the Vermi Bag Mini. So I just push the food to the side, put a good chunk of worm grit down, put some more cardboard to try to smother them down, and then this bin was set up for the week. I'm anxious to see what the beetle population will look like next week. And that completes the update for this week. If you've gotten this far and you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. It does help my channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And until next week, bye.